sword lesson Arya received in Season 1 was never just about water dancing, or footwork, or the next fight in the yard. 8 seasons later, that lesson became the exact movement that ended the largest war in the history of Westeros. The kill was not improvised. The kill was not luck. The kill was the completion of something planted so early, so quietly, that almost no one recognized it as the setup to the most consequential moment in the entire series. What you are about to see is not a surprise. It was always the plan. You just were not told to look for it. To calculate the atmospheric pressure of this Godswood, we must understand what each person standing in it has already lost. The Night King has spent 8,000 years being the one thing no army could stop. He watched dragonfire bounce off his chest. He pulled a dragon from the sky with one hand. Every defender of the living sent against him has failed. Jon Snow fought him twice, and never once came close. Daenerys burned him directly with Drogon, and he walked through it. Every military mind in Westeros spent the entire season treating the Night King as a problem requiring force, requiring fire, requiring a hero built for battle. Bran Stark sits beneath the Weirwood Heart Tree, not because he is the strongest fighter. He is there because he is the memory of the world, the three-eyed raven, the only being whose destruction would give the Night King permanent victory. Erase Bran, erase history. Every living mind becomes empty. Every soul that ever fought or loved or bled becomes nothing. The Godswood is not just a garden in Winterfell. It is the last memory of the world, and it is surrounded by everything the Night King has already won. Arya Stark is not supposed to be here. She is not supposed to be the answer. That is precisely why she is the answer. Every commander on the Winterfell battlefield that night operated inside a known threat hierarchy. Jon Snow was at the top of it. Daenerys Targaryen was at the top of it. The Dragon Riders, the Dothraki, the Unsullied, every asset deployed matched the enemy the generals believed they were fighting. A massive undead army led by an ancient and nearly indestructible supernatural force. You send your biggest weapons at the biggest threats. That is how military logic works. What no general on that field had calculated, and what the Night King himself had not calculated, was the variable that had been in plain sight since Season 1. A girl who trained under a master of death and then disappeared into the dark. Threat invisibility bias, the cognitive failure that causes a dominant force to stop scanning for danger from sources it has already dismissed as non-threatening. The Night King had cataloged every credible threat on the battlefield. He had neutralized them all. Arya Stark never made the list. Not because she was hidden, because the Night King's mind, like every mind operating under confirmed dominance, stopped looking for threats once the list felt complete. Watch the draw of the sword. The Night King moves with the deliberate slowness of something that has never needed to hurry. This is not menace performed for an audience. This is the body language of a predator that has forgotten what it feels like to be in danger. The sword comes out at the pace of ritual, not combat. He is not preparing for a fight. He is completing a ceremony. The ceremony of ending Bran, ending memory, ending everything. Nothing in that motion carries the posture of a being on alert. Every physical signal the Night King is transmitting in this moment says, the war is already over. That certainty is the wound working against him, not his wound, his victory. The wound of perfect confidence is that it closes the mind at exactly the moment when the mind most needs to stay open. 8,000 years of winning does not make you invincible. It makes you certain. Those are not the same thing. Apex predator stillness. The behavioral shutdown of threat scanning that occurs in a dominant organism once it believes the hierarchy of danger is resolved. The Night King stopped scanning because scanning was no longer necessary inside his own threat model. The Godswood was surrounded by his generals. Every major defender of the living was neutralized or pinned. What he was exhibiting in that slow sword draw was not arrogance, it was the behavioral consequence of having been right every single time for 8,000 years. She screams because she has no choice. The momentum of the leap is committed. There is no retrieval. Arya is not performing courage in that scream. She is pushing past the last wall, the moment between deciding and doing, which is the only moment that has ever killed more people than any weapon. The scream is not emotional. It is physiological. The body releasing everything it has been holding since Syrio Forel first put a wooden sword in her hand in the Red Keep of King's Landing. The body surfacing what years of preparation compressed into one direction. The catch is instantaneous. The Night King's reflexes are not the problem. His reflexes are perfect. The catch is the exact maneuver any trained combatant would execute when a body comes at them from the air, grip the throat, immobilize the weapon hand. He has already won this exchange by every logical measure available to him. He has the stronger body. He has both of her hands controlled. He has gravity. What he does not have is the correct inventory of her hands. Arya was trained inside a specific fighting philosophy, not strength-based, not reach-based, not force against force. Syrio Forel's water dancing philosophy is built entirely around redirecting the opponent's certainty. Make them believe they have solved the puzzle. Then show them the puzzle was never what they thought. Kinetic misdirection. A combat or strategic technique in which the attacker creates a false solution in the opponent's mind while executing the actual attack through a secondary channel the opponent has already discounted. The dagger drop is not an accident. It is the technique. Arya releases the Valyrian steel from her right hand, the hand the Night King is watching. The hand the Night King has already neutralized, and her left hand, the hand the Night King stopped tracking the moment he gripped the right, completes the kill. He solved for the wrong hand. He solved correctly. That was the point. The fall of the dagger is the longest moment in the episode. Ramin Djawadi drops the score to near silence at this exact point. The entire audience watches the dagger fall and understands, a half second before Arya catches it, that everything has just changed. The Night King's eyes track the dagger downward. His brain processes, weapon lost. His brain is solving the wrong problem. The correct problem is, where is her left hand going? But threat tracking, once oriented toward the primary weapon, does not pivot that fast. Not even for an ancient supernatural being. Because the failure is not in the reflexes. The failure is in the cognitive model that told him which hand to watch. The stab lands exactly where the children of the forest placed the dragonglass that made him. Arya strikes the origin point. Not by accident, not by instinct, by knowledge. Whether conscious or transmitted through years of training under a woman who carried the words, "Not today," like a blade in her own right. The wound that created the Night King is the only wound that can uncreate him. The generals do not fight. The generals do not run. They shatter in the same instant. This is the architecture of the Night King's power, revealing its hidden flaw. Everything in his army is a single point of failure. Every wight, every walker, every resurrected horror across the entire battlefield is connected to him the way a body is connected to a heartbeat. Stop the heart, and everything dies. The strength of a unified command structure is coordination. The weakness is catastrophic cascade failure the moment the command disappears. The Night King built an army that could not function without him, because he never imagined a universe in which he would not be there to lead it. Cascade collapse. The failure mode in which the elimination of one central node destroys an entire system simultaneously, because the system was never designed to function independently of that node. Every wight on the Winterfell battlefield collapses in the same second. The army of the dead was not an army in the modern sense. It had no secondary command, no distributed intelligence, no capacity for autonomous action. It was a projection of one will. Remove the will, and there is nothing left to animate the projection. The Night King's certainty that he would never be removed was the architectural choice that made the cascade possible. She does not celebrate. She does not raise the dagger. She stands in the space where the Night King was and breathes. What is visible in her face at this moment is not relief and not triumph. It is the particular exhaustion of someone who has arrived at the destination they have been moving toward for years without knowing that was where they were going. Arya Stark did not wake up in Season 1 with a plan to kill the Night King. She woke up every day inside a wound, the wound of being dismissed, being overlooked, being told that her role in the world was to be decorative and obedient. She turned that wound into a craft. The craft led her to the House of Black and White in Braavos. The craft led her through the streets of King's Landing wearing other people's faces. The craft led her to this exact courtyard, in this exact darkness, at this exact moment. Bran nods, one small movement of the head. He is the three-eyed raven, the memory of the world, the living archive of every event that has ever happened in this world's history. He watched all of it. He watched Arya catch her first wooden sword. He watched the Night King rise. He watched the first war between the living and the dead. And now he watches it end. The nod carries no surprise in it. That is the detail that reframes everything that came before. Bran is not nodding because he is impressed. Bran is nodding because he always knew this was how it ended. But here is what the show never told you. The Night King, as presented in the television series, the blue-eyed, silent, ancient general of the army of the dead, does not exist in George R.R. Martin's novels. In the books, the enemies are called the Others. Ancient, cold, speaking their own crystalline language, moving through the world according to a logic that has never been fully explained. There is a legend in the books about a Night's King, a Night's Watch commander, who married a creature of ice and was destroyed by the combined armies of Winterfell and the Free Folk thousands of years ago. That figure may or may not connect to the Others. Martin has never confirmed the link. The show built its entire final season climax around the destruction of a singular, named, personified villain. The book suggests the threat may be distributed, without a single throat to cut, without a single heart to stop, without a single dagger drop moment that resolves everything. If Martin's ending lands differently, Arya's kill may not be the answer in print. The psychology of the scene changes completely if the enemy cannot be ended by removing one person. In any system built around a single point of authority, a military command, a corporation, a regime, the most dangerous assumption is that the threat will arrive from a recognized direction. Security professionals call this the known threat inventory problem. The moment a defense system believes it has cataloged every credible threat, it stops scanning. The Night King lost to a threat his model had dismissed 8 seasons earlier. In modern organizational terms, the equivalent is the competitor nobody tracks until the quarter they take the market. The internal voice nobody elevates until the crisis they solve alone. Dominance does not protect a system from what it has already decided not to see. The deadliest threats in any environment are the ones that were visible the entire time, just never treated as serious. 8 seasons of misdirection pointed at Jon Snow as the chosen hero, the prophecies, the resurrection, the Targaryen blood, the secret parentage. And the killing blow came from the person standing furthest from the spotlight. Here is the question this episode never fully answered. Was Bran's nod confirmation that he saw this coming? Or was it the private acknowledgement of a man who used his sister as bait, knowing she was the only one close enough to death to survive the attempt? Bran sat in that chair in the open without fighting, without running. Think about what that requires. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'll see you in the next.